Stand up first.
Oh, I'm so short. Thanks, Sean, and everybody for being here. I also want to say thank you to my friends. I have 3 friends here, 2 of which are still learning English, so they're here purely out of love for me, so that's so great.
What's their native language?
Español.
Español.
So gracias, amigas. Vamos, amigas. Okay. So I'm actually posing as a poet tonight, but I'm a prose writer, so I'm going to read prose poems, and if you could pretend that I'm a poet, that would be awesome.
We love prose.
Yay!
We accept her. We accept her. One of us. One of us.
Okay. The first poem is called Ash Wednesday. His skin hugs his jawbone like stretched canvas. Her family forces her to eat saturated fats. Remember baby tooth. He props himself up on a white plastic chair next to his hut. He shuts all the doors and blinds so the passing cars can't see. Remember vein? He traces a line with his eyes from his boxers to his catheter. She looks in the mirror as she covers empty follicles with a wig. Remember teardrop? His groans are heard by his whole family. There are no doors in his home. Her chemo dates are in a separate calendar in the back room. Remember eyelash? He will be buried with dirt dropped between his sunken ribs and sockets. She will live for several more years on other people's blood and bone. Remember, and to dust you shall return.
That's right.
The next poem is new, and it's called Adam and Eve Wear Bathing Suits. I am 12, and Lindsay takes her underwear off in the empty garage apartment. Full of fear, snakes, snapping turtles, and night sky, we ran here dripping from the pond to hide from her dad, who drinks beer and chases us around the farm. Lindsay wrings out her underwear. Red stains, now yellow-brown splotches on the cloth. Blood and dirt water absorb into the plywood flooring. We've been found. I am 13, and I touch a freshwater jellyfish. Lindsay, her little brother, and I are in the boat, and it's past midnight. It pulses electric and wants to wrap itself around me. I am scared to get stung. Touch it, Jenny girl, touch it. It can't sting you. I am 14, and I point a gun at Lindsay's head and pull the trigger. A puff of air shoots out, and the breath of the gun lands between her eyes. And it's not a toy like I thought. It's her brother's hunting rifle. She stares at me. 2 silent minutes. Then we continue to live. I am 15, and her brother punches me in the eye in the ocean at Cape Penelope, and I fall backward. A wave covers my face, my exposed stomach. He'd seen us skinny dipping that morning. That morning I'd seen him too, his silhouette on the beach, his eyes looking at us. He's mad at me for letting him see my body. I am 16, and Lindsay and I search her mother's underwear drawer, and there's a tube of lube and a wrinkled red bandana. She puts guilt and curiosity in my hands. I look over at the bed to make sense of it all. Jenny girl, now you can't touch your vagina. My dad's all over that. I am 17, and Lindsay tells Mike she won't have sex with him anymore, and she throws out her punk CDs and repeats words like redeemed and forgiven. Mike is pissed and wants me to take her place, redeemed and forgiven. Dave asks Lindsay if she is a born-again virgin, redeemed and forgiven, and I don't know anything about that. All I know is virginity and fear of getting stung by her, by anyone. I am 18, and I watch Lindsay convert the adopted kid at camp. If he lets Jesus into his heart, he won't be as angry. That morning he threw glass into the pool, aiming for the spot where the girls mouth the names of the boys they like underwater. I am 19, and Andrew from the church on Main Street puffs air from a fireplace bellow into a hornet's nest to impress Lindsay. Then we're running a quarter mile and jumping in her pond to protect us from the stings. Silt in my toenails and weeds around my legs. At the bottom there are old sneakers, a snow sled, her brother's broken PlayStation, some punk CDs, my necklace from last summer. There are freshwater jellyfish too, waiting to bloom every 4 years. I am 20, and Lindsay marries a boy she meets on the internet. Jenny girl, will you be my maid of honor? In the church nursery, after the ceremony, I find her brother sitting in a play kitchen. crying at a banquet of plastic food. Lindsay and her husband moved to a trailer in the woods in Tennessee. They don't have a bathroom, so they shit in a bucket, and when the dog gets rabies, her husband points his hunting rifle at its head and shoots it. Its name had been Sweetie. Lindsay tells me not to call, not to visit, not to think of her. It's God's plan, and I'll see you in heaven, Jenny girl. The first summer I went to Lindsay's farm, I was 11, and Lindsay had stolen her aunt's video camera. I was 80 pounds maybe, with ribs that poked through, and she told me to bring a bikini, and I didn't have one, so I brought my sister's. Her brother changed into swimming trunks, and she walked him and I, still strangers, down to the pond. In the snarly nests of weeds and thicket, where her dad poked his gun into muskrat holes, she ripped big, starchy leaves off a vine. Cover your boobs and your vagina, she told me. Cover your area, she told her brother. In the film, the scene opens to her brother and I in a trampled squash patch, leaves over our bathing suits so it looks like we are naked. They have sinned, and now they are ashamed of their nakedness, she narrates. Modesty, shame, heat, purity, nose rings, flesh, hickeys, mud, slut, 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 virgin, virgin, virgin. Warm summer air undresses me. The leaf falls first from my boobs and then from my crotch until I'm just bathing suit. Lindsay's laugh, slow and mannish, floats into the scene from behind the camera. We were the first two beings on the planet, boy and girl. She created us in her image. Now, all of us human and fallen, we live as strangers in different places. We continue to live. And the last poem I'll read is called Residency, and it's in the new issue. I wrote it after I watched a documentary called Tent City, which is it's a really good movie if no one's seen it, if you haven't seen it. I think it's on Netflix, and it's about a homeless community in Nashville, and this is basically a composite character that I created after watching that documentary. The woman who got molested as a child is on the streets. Her body fills the space underneath a man's shirt, which is a faded shade of red with a permanent darkness under the arms. Her teeth are crooked up, and hair pushes through her chin like fence pickets. The same coarse hairs probably border each nipple. The woman who got molested has old eyes, and lines of smudgy black poke between each lash. If she stood in front of a mirror, she would see that the freckles had not faded. Now she sleeps next to her boyfriend in tents, shelters, and sometimes the motel with the red carpet. Does he touch her? When he holds her breast, does she tell him about the man who waited for her outside of the restaurant? Does she look younger when she tells him this story, still unable to understand it? Does it feel good when he feels for her and then finds her there between the two walls? Does she put herself into his hands, or does he reach towards her from the pillow? Is there a pillow? When they walk past the blue restaurant door, does she pretend to be happy? When he squeezes her hand, her eyes shut slightly, in pleasure or in pain.